Welcome to another episode of Catch You Later. We're fishing before a cold front, January in Louisiana. Let's see how we do. Not many people would say these are the ideal conditions. And I'd have to concur, but boy, have I wanted to fish this exact bayou under these exact conditions for a long time. I'm gonna go with my classic wintertime bait. You can see how chewed up it is. This is the H&H Kakaho in Tuxedo. To be perfectly honest, I do not know what would be a good lure right now or what weight I should use. I don't even know what the tide is doing. And that's because this wind coming out of the east-southeast is so strong, it really doesn't matter what the tide is doing. And this is what it's like to fish before a massive cold front comes through. A few days from now, temperatures are going to be in the 20s, and the fish are going to be really stacking up in bayous like this. There's one. Oh, that had to be a little trout. Golly, they're right at that point. There he is. These must be little fish. I cannot set the hook. There's one. There it is. There it is. This is exactly why I wanted to fish this bayou at this time of year. This one hooked on the bottom of its gill. So that means they're just kind of like barely attacking it. And probably a reason we aren't setting the hook. Let's look at this trout. It would be a keeper. I'm not keeping any. I don't even have my towel ready. That really didn't take long. Y'all have seen me fish this bayou plenty of times. I fished it this summer and caught mostly dinks, and I said to myself, man, if I could get there in the winter, I bet all these trout will still be here and they'll be keeper size. And sure enough, didn't take long. As always, 3-cast rule. I mean, we did get a ton of hits, but the difference is now the angle at which I'm casting. You can actually kind of see where they probably are. If you look at this water, I don't know how well it comes out on my camera. It's kind of smoother on this side and rougher on this other side. That means there's a ledge there. And they're probably hanging out on that ledge. All right, we gave it our 3-cast. Didn't get another hit, which is crazy. We had so many hits. And then for it just to die, but c'est la vie. I mentioned the conditions already, but water temps right now are about 61. Yesterday I fished Lake Pontchartrain. All I caught was a absolutely gigantic alligator gar. And water temps in the lake were 63 yesterday, so it's fallen fast. And that cold front still hasn't even gotten here, so chances are me fishing in this style, in this area, is not going to last very long. Man, this water is way, way shallower than I would have expected. Low visibility though, I can't see the bottom. Either way, I've switched to a silver spoon because I know that catches trout. There's one. All right. All right, well, the hunch for silver spoon paid off. I didn't actually land that, but that could be why the hits that I've had I wasn't able to set. It's really hard for those trout to get their mouths over the weed guard of the spoon. Now, people will tell you silver spoon for trout and gold spoon for reds, and that is just not the case. You can catch both on either. They're not more likely or less likely depending on the color. It really doesn't matter. I had somebody at a bait shop once tell me that redfish think the spoon is a crab, but that is not the case. They think it is a wounded mullet or pogie, and trout love to eat those. Oh, that's it. There it is. That's gotta be a red. There we go. All right. Oh, my power pole isn't going down. Oh, Lord. Boy, that is a fighting fish. Golly, I love catching redfish, y'all. Well, all right. Switch to the silver spoon paid off pretty quickly. And I'll go over why that is in just a sec. Boy, this guy was not getting out. It's a male, it's drumming. It's probably 19 or 20 inches. I do want to keep one, but I'm going to wait until I'm ready to leave to keep one. So we're going to let this one go. Still had tons and tons of energy. Boy, love catching those. All right, so that confirms that a lot of what we were spooking was reds. All right, so why did the switch to the spoon work? It's really two reasons. So let me throw a cast out and just kind of show y'all. Wind is in my face, so the audio is probably going to be bad, but I just had a bump. The way I retrieve this, put it kind of in the camera, I'm constantly pulsing it by pushing my rod tip down. And when you work this lure like this, as I was saying earlier, they think it's kind of like a wounded pogie or mullet or something like that. Boy, he wrecked this weed guard. And when you see this in the water, that thing is just fluttering. So it just looks like an injured fish. And right now, in these conditions, you really have to do something that's direct retrieve. The way I've heard it explained to me, loud conditions means loud lures. And loud doesn't necessarily mean sonically loud, like a buzzbait or popping cork. Although popping cork probably would work pretty well right now. What it actually means is just vibrant. And so this not only reflects a lot of light because it's shiny and silver, it's brand new, it also just looks like such an opportunistic bite for these fish. But we're about to get in deeper water. I don't like spoons in deeper water. This is going to be the challenge of windy conditions. Unfortunately, my power pole didn't work, so we got blown over that spot. And we got to keep moving on. So I'm going to go with the exposed hook because I know that this water here doesn't have anything to get hung up on, or at least I think I know. Never been hung up on anything in it. Whoa. And because it's a 1/4 ounce, it can get down to the bottom, whereas that Lost Coast is, oh, golly, that. Did you see my rod tip? My goodness. That fish was already running off with it. So it seems like iridescence really matters right now, and technique. I don't think Texas rig weedless is going to be the technique for today. It is weird how spread out these trout are. I mean, that had to be a trout that hit me. I mean, it damn near yanked the rod out of my hand and still didn't get the hook set. That is a pretty classic trout. Kind of stuck right here because the wind is pushing us into the bank, and I'm gonna just roll with it. Fan cast this little bend. We know there's fish in here, but it doesn't seem like the trout are particularly stacked up. It seems like the fish are really spread out. Fishing for an hour, not the start that I had in the last video, but nobody watched that video, so who cares? Oh, there's a fish. There's a fish. Another trout. And these are keepers. Well, there's a trout with a really messed up tail now. Nice. There it is. There it is. All right, so I actually knew that would be there because I saw them. Also would be a keeper. Now these are just barely keepers. Not, I was expecting them to be a little bigger by this time of year, but they are keepers even with the new rules. And actually I saw some signs of feeding activity right here, and you would really expect them to be right here. You've got this big body of water, a lot of moving water wrapping around, and this area is pretty calm. There's another one. Oh, got off. So yeah, you'd really expect them to be here. Give it a few more goes. Look how far I can cast this thing, my goodness. I mean, of course I have 15-mile-an-hour winds at my back, but still. There's one. Yep, there, oh, golly. Did you see that? Reds don't fight like that. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Golly, I love catching redfish. Let's see if my spot lock thing will work now. Yes. All right. That was one of the best redfish catches I've ever had. Man, I've never had such a hard time getting a hook out of a fish. Golly. Well, I'm gonna actually measure this one because you can see here he's gonna go blind anyway. Yep, 20 inches. All right, he's already lost a lot of blood. I'm gonna put him out of his misery. Shouldn't be too bad keeping him out. It's pretty cold right now. I'm not gonna keep him out for long. I'll just fillet him. I've got some Ziploc bags in my hatch, so it shouldn't be too bad. So I definitely want to bleed him out because I want him to die as fast as possible. It'll actually help keep the meat fresh. Okay, well, windy conditions. I mean, look at this. You really can't pick worse conditions to fish in. But here we are, making something out of it. Okay, so it's about 3 o'clock. Seems pretty clear that the spoon is the winning ticket for redfish, at least. Haven't quite cracked the code on trout. does seem like they were pretty interested in the spoon too, but the spoon is definitely going to catch more reds than trout, because unless it's a monster trout that bites it pretty hard, they're not going to get through the weed guard. And you're not going to catch anything like that. So we've definitely isolated a pattern with the reds. They are hugging the bank as they should. I mean, that's what they do. There's one. There's one. Catching trout and reds on the weedless silver spoon. Well, I get the hook out of this one's mouth. Anyway, for those of you still watching, what do y'all think of me doing raw, uncut episodes? So probably by the time y'all see this, we're about 15 or 20 minutes into this episode. In reality, we're a couple hours into the trip, maybe even 3 hours into the trip. So you can see about how much I actually cut out. So the question is, would y'all be interested in seeing all the parts that are cut out? You know, a lot of this is just me talking to myself to fill the air, but some of this is actually tactical, me changing what I'm planning based on what I'm seeing, stuff like that. So if y'all are interested in that, let me know. It would be no skin off of my back to do an uncut one. That would be a much easier edit. All right, guys, I completely misread the map. We're way too far in the marsh. So I'm gonna call it right here. Wasn't the most spectacular day in terms of how many fish we landed, but in these conditions, and to prove a hypothesis that I had that the trout in those bayous would be keeper size by now, mission accomplished. So if you like this kind of content, as always, like and subscribe, and until next time, I'll catch you later.